Welcome, listeners. I'm so excited. We have Sean Darcy. He's the Chief Solutions Officer at the global learning and engagement platform company Kahoot. Sean, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Julie.
I love the research y'all are doing. So you've got some stuff on Gen Z, which I know is just all the talk amongst leaders right now, similar to when us millennials entered the workforce. I feel like it's like the same thing, same
Yeah,
challenges, but unique, as well as some workplace culture research. So excited to dig into some key
sure.
findings, some workplace trends that you're seeing, Sean. Maybe start with just Kahoot, like what you all do, like what kind of research you do to kick us off.
Yeah, so Kahoot is, for those of you who have not heard of it, it's a global platform for game-based learning. We've been around since 2012. Last year, we had over 1.7 billion non-unique participating participants on the platform. So it's used pretty broadly. It's used globally, and it's used across different segments. So it's the biggest, I guess, segment is school, so K-12 and higher ed. But it's increasingly becoming a popular platform for workforce engagement and also learning and development. So it's growing on the work side as well. And it's also being used at home. So families, I know you guys just came out of at the Thanksgiving holidays over there, and we see a lot from our data. A lot of people are playing Kahoot with their families, so it's really also good for lifelong learning.
Oh yeah, that's really cool. And so the research component that you do, is that, what do you typically research and why?
Well, we're often researching different areas. We're very, part of our kind of values. We're very focused on. We're just, a curious company. So right now we're really focused on better understanding the workplace and how to actually engage employees a bit better. So we've done in the last few months, we've done two different studies. The first is the workplace engagement report, which came out back in August. And just today, actually, we launched the new Gen Z report. So happy to dig into each of those.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, there's a lot of research on Kahoot.com where because we've been in business for so long now since 2012, there are an absolute ton of academic research papers on Kahoot, used mostly in higher ed, actually. And so there's, I think there's over 100 now, 150 or so different research papers, and we've taken the time to sort of try to synthesize the results from those as well. So
That's
it's not
cool.
only our own research, it's also some of the research that the academic community has done as well.
Well, as an academic, I can appreciate that. I think one of the most compelling findings you found in the workplace engagement report is nearly half of leaders would give up their title just to feel engaged at work. Tell us more about that, Sean.
Yeah, so this was an interesting report because in this report we tried to focus. Normally, you focus on the employee, and I think this time we wanted to also talk to leaders, managers, and leaders to find out kind of how their engagement looked. And of course, the working hypothesis is that if you don't have engaged leaders or managers, it's pretty difficult to engage your employees. So what we found out that almost half basically would describe themselves, the leaders would describe themselves as fully engaged, which is a lot lower than I think a lot of people would expect. And a third of them actually feel pretty burned out. So this is the leadership in companies. They're feeling, they're not really engaged and they're feeling a bit burned out. One of the things we found as kind of one of the root causes for that is that they really don't have the toolkit or the skills in order to not only be engaged themselves, but also to sort of turn that around and engage their teams. So
Hmm.
they're really not investing. Companies are really not investing in sort of tools to really or skill building to actually have that engagement as a sort of key a factor in their corporate culture. So that was a real, um, quite frankly, unnerving finding that there was just so many leaders out there that were not so engaged.
Yeah. Yeah, and to the pain level that I would give up my title to be more
Yeah,
engaged.
that was the of course the communications team wrote a pretty good headline on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so to give up your title is that's definitely pretty shocking
Yeah, because you
for
think like
sure.
I've arrived, I'm the leader, I'm the manager, like this is what I worked hard for, but people are in those moments like it's not worth it. Like if I'm not motivated, if I'm not engaged, if I'm not happy at work, the title's not worth it. But
That's
I'm
right.
curious, Sean, like these employee engagement surveys, the Gallup's always
Mm.
publishing data on this too, of course. And you all are studying it. Like it just doesn't seems to be so sticky. Like it doesn't seem to be moving. To your point about managers, like if your manager's not engaged, how can you engage your employees? So I'm just curious, like why hasn't this trend shifted? Like why hasn't this problem been solved?
I think it's a few things. I think one of the things that's there's a general sort of shift happening in the workplace now. There's another report actually we did before the summer. It was around layoffs and talking about sort of or trying to uncover like what happens in organizations and the sort of lack of trying to re-onboard folks after a layoff has been done. So I think it's just the speed of business. It's like things are moving very quickly, and just companies aren't taking the time to really
Mhm.
empathize and really, reset and get going again in a meaningful way. So I think that's definitely one thing. I think as part of you know we're big believers in AI, and we can double click on that. Well, for the next 20 minutes if you want, but we really believe that AI is quite a powerful tool to really democratize training, for example, in any company. Anybody can make materials and training materials in minutes using any document now. There's the analytics and all of that. But I think fundamentally, that's all very yeah, I won't say cold, but certainly it's dehumanized. Let's put it that way in the workplace now. So I think at least we can speak from where we are at Kahoot. We're not about the AI. We're about how AI can sort of improve social connection and social learning. I think companies really need to take a step back and think and just make sure they're spending time on building those social connections and making sure they're taking the time to build culture
Yeah,
ultimately.
totally. I mean, that's going to be such a more important competitive advantage, especially as you said, AI kind of makes training more accessible, speeds up productivity. So, in theory, as somebody that prioritizes workplace culture and talent retention, this time savings that we're getting from AI could
Hmm.
easily be shifted to more learning and development and focus on this instead of trying to like squeeze every productivity piece out of a worker.
Hmm.
So that's just it's an interesting phenomenon to kind of think about AI's impact on learning. Sean, I did want to shift to the Gen Z study and
Hmm.
talk to me more about what you learned from that study.
Yeah, so that one just came out today. So we're just everyone's trying to wrap their head around all of the cool stuff there. But I think we going back to the workplace engagement report, we actually the reason why we did the Gen Z report was because we actually asked some questions back in August around Gen Z, and these same managers that were having trouble staying engaged were saying that almost two-thirds said that Gen Z was really the hardest group to engage compared to, so 61% said, this is a very hard group to engage compared to 20% for millennials. So clearly millennials were no problem, but Gen Z is much harder. And 38% said of HR managers said trying to get Gen Z to engage is one of the top reasons they have for their own burnout. So this is why we were kind of like, what's going on? So we wanted to kind of dig into that one a little bit more and understand just what exactly was going on. As you said, it's a bit of a hot topic out there. So we felt that we would spend a bit of time on that one. So today we launched that. And I think we wanted to hear from that was the sort of manager side. We wanted to hear from the Gen Z, like the actual employee side, like how are they doing? And there's some of the things that they were saying is that almost half said that they felt that 1 year into the job that they were being criticized for being too passionate or being too outspoken. Um, 60, this was an interesting one, 68% admitted feeling out of depth at work. And we interpreted that. We just looked into kind of had to read between the lines, but I think what it meant was they don't really have the same operating system for work that some of the older cohorts have. So just like things like email etiquette and how to run a meeting and just like basic things like that. I think they struggle a bit with that, and maybe they don't get that in. They haven't been sort of course, they haven't been educated or taught those things in coming out of university or whatever education they're coming from. So I think that was interesting. And I think one of the other things, so we asked them, of course, what would they want in terms of training? And what they said was they actually wanted more learning to be a little bit more gamified and more fun, clearly, and more structured like school. So more like
Mm,
formative feedback, more like structured, having much more structure, much more ongoing feedback. So we thought that was fascinating. So it's like they kind of come out of university and go into the workforce, and they kind of they kind of expect some of the same types of approaches that how they
mm,
learn in university to be carried on into work, and also how the feedback was given to be done in a similar way.
mhm,
Um, and I think one of the last things they also said was that relationships and a self of belonging were really important. So making sure that they have that sort of safe environment where they actually can feel that camaraderie with their fellow colleagues is really important for them.
mhm.
I think that's not strange. I think most employees want that, but I think this particular cohort really wants that even more. Which is
Yeah,
again goes back to that, spending, companies spending time on building culture and building up that sort of social fabric, the group dynamics and those sorts of things are really important these days.
yeah, yeah. Well, what I'm hearing in that research, psychological safety seems really important to Gen Z, and it
Absolutely.
makes sense. I mean, you grew up in a pandemic. You had your coming of age years
True.
altered by a pretty scary, isolating event, and so you didn't get traditional schooling remotely. Like thinking about email
Absolutely.
etiquette and meeting facilitation, like that probably wasn't something you learned as past generations did. There was like a gap in some of that. And so I think that's really interesting, Sean, to think about the effects and how do you create a culture where we know diversity and inclusion is like a non-negotiable with Gen Z and
Mm.
belonging. And these are just things they expect in the workplace.
Mm.
I've been saying for years, like with the labor shortage, this generation has a lot more power than past generations.
Exactly.
We're going to replace all jobs with AI. And baby boomers are retiring at very high rates right now, and birth rates aren't keeping up. So there has to be some reconciliation at some point about that focus on workplace culture where there is psychological safety. I can bring up hard issues. I can speak up without being called spoken too outspoken. I can
Yeah.
belong and be my, best self, full self, whatever self I need to be at work, without having
Mm.
to like overthink or cover parts of myself. So I'm just curious, Sean, in the research, did you find any best practices or strategies to kind of tackle some of these issues?
Well, I think that's what we will be from the research. We'll probably be well, we will be developing some white papers, which I think we'll be adding to Qt.com. But I mean, I can just speak from
Yeah.
our own experience and our especially our customers' experience using our own platform. And that's one of the things that they are using Kahoot for is to take a standard presentation. So it could be just a, Google Slides or PowerPoint, which would be a very sort of one way type of interaction, and turn that into kind of more of a interactive discussion with Kahoot. So by using AI, of course, you can just sort of drag and drop your presentations and then spin them into slides with questions and those sorts of things. And by doing that, then you can, of course, open up any presentation for feedback, creating discussion, really, also breaking the ice, democratizing the whole presentation so that everybody feels like they're part of it, hopefully delighting and bringing that fun aspect in. And also, I think in doing all of that, also have some for the presenter. So the manager in this case, have some analytics on the other side to see like where are people, do people understand? So like let's say it was a strategy, corporate strategy that needed to be, communicated and hopefully disseminated inside an organization. Do they actually understand it? Are they going to remember that? Are there areas that we need to improve? And is there sort of a real time ability for people to sort of ask questions and sort of discuss as the presentation's being given? And I think that's a really basic thing, which because if you just think about meetings, like if you think about work life, it's like it's meetings, right? It's meetings, and of course there's hopefully more than just meetings, but meetings are one of those things that you need to really work at making more engaging. And at least for our customers, what they say when they use Kahoot is that they're able to actually just make it into a more interactive and
Yeah.
hopefully positive experience, which
Yeah.
of course, which done enough times really sort of helps develop a kind of inclusive, open, democratic, and a culture that's about learning and about curiosity. So we love
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, meeting facilitation is not an innate skill. It's
No.
kind of, especially for young people, it's overwhelming. You might get anxiety and be nervous to lead a meeting or even speak up in a meeting. So, creating a discussion-based format sounds like a no-brainer.
Hmm.
So many meetings could be emails and presentations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And meetings are it's really important. It's a snapshot of culture. I mean, most people spend half their day at least in meetings, and so that's half your workday. A meeting really does reflect the broader culture of an organization and speaks to psychological safety or the lack thereof, and a lot of these issues that Gen Z is having in the workplace. If you just start by working on your meetings and being more interactive, Sean,
Yeah.
that sounds it
That's
sounds
a
like
good start.
a good start. Yes, a
Yeah. It's a good
solid place
foundation.
to land. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, this has been wonderful talking with you. Tell our listeners, Sean, how they can follow Kahoot and the latest research and trends.
The easiest is really just to navigate over to Kahoot.com, and we have a link for the research. All of our research is on /research, so you can just check it out there, and have a read through. And please follow us on any of other social channels out there and give us feedback. We would love to hear it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being with us today.